All right, rock and roll. Happy Saturday to one and all. You are at the Scorched Earth podcast. I know you've heard the rumors about it. You're actually here. You're basking in the glory that is Scorched Earth, where we welcome one and all, friend and foe. I'm your host, John. Sinner and saint, we are all welcome here. Now, if you're on the other side of the political aisle, we still welcome you. We're just here to tell you how you're wrong, all right? But if you could, hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate everybody who listens every day, taking out some of your valuable data. Share it with me. And, if you're feeling a little on the edge, go ahead and hit that comment button. I had some real good comments today. I really appreciate it. And notifications if you could. And here we try and have a more unabridged look at what's going on in the world of politics and media. I think that media, by and large, tells us what they think they want to hear. I think they talk about things that aren't exactly happening. They want to project. They want to fill up the space with just a bunch of goddamn noise. We're not trying to do that. Yeah, I know. I got a lot of noise. Anybody who's listened to me more than once or twice knows I can ramble on forever. But we're off and running. We're taking no prisoners, telling no lies. Welcome to Scorched Earth. And let's burn it all down. All right. Our esteemed president, Trump, is trying to get through major legislation for a budget. He is trying to extend the tax cuts that he passed in 2017, which are going to expire. And whether, I think most people would agree, most economists agree that it disproportionately helped the wealthy. I'm going to have some amazing statistics about the wealth disparity gap in this country. And it's alarming on every level. And a lot of people, we all have our jobs. This is how they keep us down. They keep us fighting among ourselves. Republican fights Democrat, conservative against liberal, whatever. We're not looking at the bigger picture, and it is the elitist, the rich, are distancing themselves from us. And basically, it is the rich and it is the poor. The middle class is getting eliminated. They have done a really good job about that by eliminating unions, attacking rights of workers, because when you get rid of unions, you take away wealth from the middle class. The unions, and I am a huge advocate of the unions. I hope I can have some union members on here in the future to talk about it. But it's one of those jobs where you don't have to incur $200,000 of goddamn debt to actually get a job. You can actually go out and make an average decent living and provide for your family without having that straddled over your head. Just saying, right? So Trump on Friday said he is amendable in this new budget negotiation to, quote unquote, putting a wealth tax on the rich. Currently, their tax rate is at historic lows. He is open, he says, amiable. I didn't even know he knew what that word meant. That, hey, sorry, not the smartest tool in the shed. That he is for a small increase on what the wealthiest pay. Let me tell you what is going on in this country. And listen to these statistics. You probably have heard them if you're politically active, but I'm going to regurgitate. Let's call regurgitate, okay? Hey, I'm more than a pretty face, okay? The top 1% of the people in the United States own 30% of all wealth. This has increased by 4% in the last year and a half. So they went from 26 to 30%. I got these statistics from Bloomberg, okay? I didn't just pull them out of my butt, all right? The top 10% of wealth in this country controls 68%. 68. That has went up 10% in the last 18 months. Wow. Let me ask you something. If you're listening to this podcast, has your wealth went up that exponentially? Has it went up 10%, your net assets? No, because we're all just trying to survive. We're paying rent, we're doing food, we're doing our car payment, we're doing insurance. That's how they keep us stamped down, right? The bottom 50% of people in the United States have, this is Final Jeopardy, everybody, How much wealth do you think the bottom 50% of Americans have? Over 170 million people. Okay? The top 1% is 3.4 million versus the top 3.4 million people own 30% of the wealth. What do you think the bottom 175, let's call it that, million people have for wealth in terms of percentage? Buzzer. Should have got back quicker. 2.4%. No, that's not a typo. That has went down 1.1% in the last 18 months. They are squeezing us. And now Trump is saying, well, maybe we can do a wealth tax. The reason they are getting so wealthy is because of that tax cut that came through in 2017. I mean, let's call it what it is. Why is there a cap on Social Security withholding? I think the cap is if you make 150,000 or you make 150 million, you pay the same into Social Security. It should be the same percentage. But the rich don't want to do that. Oh no, God forbid. You know, let's just keep grinding the poor into the ground and keep them working at Arby's. I love Arby's. I haven't been to Arby's in a long time. The raw numbers are the top 10% are worth over $156 trillion. The bottom 50% own $4 trillion. $4 trillion. Over 175 million people. That is their worth. That is the bottom 50%. That is insane. And let me tell you what's coming. I'm not saying it's coming next week. I'm not saying it's coming next year. But these are the same numbers that lined up right before the Great Depression. The income disparity, the wealth disparity in America is what led to the Great Depression. And then after, because of the great man that Franklin Roosevelt was, he figured out a way to do income equality. He allowed unions to start flourishing. He started Social Security. He started unemployment insurance to give people a chance. We are getting screwed on every level here, straight up. I mean, really, you're listening to this podcast. Are you better off than you were 2 years ago? No. Do you really think the future's bright? No, not exactly, right? Friday morning in his Truth Social post, Trump said that he would graciously accept a tiny increase in taxes for the wealthy. And believe me, nobody understands tiny better than him. That's what Stormy Daniels said. Hey, telling you we're different here, okay? Just saying, okay? He said he would be open to letting the tax cuts expire on people making over $2.5 million a year. Okay? In my mind, that's pretty goddamn rich, right? That is really, really rich, right? What are you going to say? Well, Mike Johnson's pushing back on it. That's that dweeble, that a-hole who runs the House for the Republicans. He thinks it's going to hurt small business. Like, wow. You know what this is? You know why he's doing it? Because he gets political contributions from people in the 2.5 million and up range. I mean, let's call it what it is. Most people are living on a budget. We don't have money to donate to political campaigns. Well, the rich, that's how they become richer. They donate to political campaigns to get carve-outs, to get things like that. You know, we got a story, I don't know if we'll get to it tonight, about the big trade deal. The big trade deal that went down with Britain, right? Trump couldn't bang his chest hard enough. Oh, we got a trade deal with Britain. There's a carve-out for Rolls-Royce, Jaguar, and Land Rover on their cars. Their cars are not going to be subject to the 25% tariff that all other cars are. No, they're going to get 10%. Tell me why that is. Because their lobbyists, they had the money. Their lobbyists got to the president and the political parties. That's how they got the carve out. Those guys didn't flip a coin and go, oh, okay. Who are we going to give it? Oh, we're going to do it for Lotus? Nope. Sorry. They didn't give enough money. Jesus, right? So now the CBO is telling us that if they extend these tax cuts, the Republicans have said we've got to find $1 trillion because that's what it's going to cost. The CBO says that if we extend these for another 10 years, it's going to cost $4 trillion. $4 trillion. Where are they going to find that money? They're not. The only way they're going to find it, honestly, is if they cut our services. Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. They're not going to be affected. They don't give a rat's ass. They just want to grind us down. You know what they want? You know what they want? They want us to die. They want us to die on the job. Not get a cent of Social Security, don't worry about Medicare. They want to screw the system up. And let me tell you something. They are setting up these tariffs for an economic downturn so they can cut Social Security. I know it. I feel it. I don't have facts. That's fine. Whatever it is. Trump says he's not going to cut Social Security. Trump says he's not going to tax Social Security. Okay, let's find out. I'm not going to get all worked up over it. You know me. I'm calm. F no. All right. We're going to welcome back a good friend, old friend. Not sure, good friend, old friend. Measles. Yeah. Measles, we missed you. Let me sing a song one day to you, Measles. But you are back. I'm glad you came back like Lazarus from the grave. Let's go to West Texas, which has among the lowest vaccination rates in our entire country. And they seem to have an epidemic. Yeah. 709 cases have been reported in West Texas in the last 3 months. Wow. That's interesting. What coincides with the last 3 months? Oh, yeah, the Trump administration. The CDC says 13% of measles patients in the United States this year have been hospitalized. That's a pretty big number because it usually affects only the young. The majority are under 19. Among nationally confirmed cases, CDC said 96% are unvaccinated. I had this discussion today with a Republican. She's smart as a whip. And I said, you know, when they don't get the measles vaccination, they're not getting the other ones. They're not getting polio. They're not getting rubella. They're not getting smallpox. They're not getting chicken. They're not. She told me when her kids first went to school back in the day that they had 10 vaccinations. She said there is now 76. And I said, okay, you know why that is in the 20, 25 years? Is because they have discovered cures for new ailments. Look, 30 years ago, the American Medical Association didn't think fibromyalgia was actually a disease. They thought it was all in people's head. I had friends who had fibromyalgia. It's chronic pain, for anybody who doesn't know, right? 30 years ago, the AMA did not acknowledge it. They thought it was a psychological disorder. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, wow, this is real. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah, it is real. And it needs to be treated. And because we do science, because we do exploration, because we do studies, we find cures for stuff. That's where Robert Kennedy has got his head so far up his ass, he won't see daylight for months. Because he says vaccinations are causing an increase in autism. Okay. Every study so far has indicated that's not true. He is going to manipulate the data. We've seen that from 5 people who've been kicked to the curb in HHS. They've already indicated he is slanting the data. Fine, whatever it is. But let me explain to you, it's like cancer. They say, oh, cancer rates are up. We're not getting cancer. We are. We are conquering cancer, slow but sure. You know what is happening? We are discovering it earlier. Now we're finding it from blood markers. You don't have to go in and get an X-ray or an MRI to find out you have cancer. Your survivability rate is exponentially higher now because we're finding things earlier. You know? They discovered for me liver cancer. Okay? They figured it out from a blood marker. I mean, hey, that's what it is, right? You know, I'm okay. Hey, you don't have this kind of glorious facade if you're not okay, right? So the United States as a whole has passed over 1,000 cases of measles so far this year. That is the highest number since 2019. Okay, hear me out. When there was 1,274 cases, but that was for the entire year. Hey, welcome to the party. We're not even halfway there. And RFK with all his anti-vaccine bullshit is not going to be helping matters. Just saying, just saying. All right, we already talked about the big Trump administration negotiation, whatever you want to call it, with Britain. And the only reason he can get one with Britain is because they're not part of the EU. They left because of Brexit. All these other people are saying, oh, these European countries are coming over. They can't negotiate. They're part of the EU. They negotiate as one, not 32 separate countries. All right. I'm glad they got a caveat for Rolls-Royces. Instead of the 25% tariff, they got a 10% tariff on Land Rover, Rolls-Royce, and what was the other car? Jaguar. Thanks. Yeah, that's going to affect me a lot. Yeah. That's going to affect the average person buying a car. Right on. Because I know a lot of people who got one of those cars. I got my brother Bill. He's got money on money. Maybe he's got a Rolls Royce hiding in the garage I'm not aware of. He's probably got it under a tarp. All right. Finally, we're going to talk about our new Pope, Pope Leo. And he was born in America. He came from Chicago. And I love the press, but man, the press is the press. Let's just call it what it is, right? The fourth rail. The honeymoon got over real quick. Now allegations are out that he covered up sexual abuse in the Chicago diocese. He covered up sexual abuse in Peru. I don't know what the truth is. I'm not reporting it as fact, but that is the inclinations that are being reported now. And I will tell you this. I was surprised that an American became Pope because there is such a stink in America because of the sexual abuse. And why is there such a big thing in America? Because the press reported it. Look, if you're thinking that this same thing that happened in America isn't going on in Africa, Central America, South America, Asia, Southeast Asia, you're an effing idiot. You are an idiot. But what's the difference? They don't have a vibrant, healthy press that reports on these things. You know? Hello? That's one thing we have to be thankful for. And even though the current administration is trying to restrict what goes on in the free press, I still have faith. We have things like this podcast, which is something they can't control. Like I said, I talked about this about a month ago. I was talking to somebody, and he said, hey, aren't you scared they're going to come for you? And I said, I pray for that day. I pray for that day where I can make enough of a stink where they come for me so I can go, F you, middle finger. Let's go. Let's get in the ring, man. Let's do it. Let's do it. I pray for that day. I pray for that day I get a letter from the administration telling me to cease and desist. 2 words. I'm going to use that as toilet paper. F you, and then when I get done, fuck you again. That's what I got to say, right? All right, but it seems like our current Pope isn't exactly a friend of the administration, especially J.D. Vance. I call him Killer Vance. He went to go see the Pope. He died the next day. He went to India. They broke out into a war with Pakistan. Yeah. This guy's more of a killer than Ebola. Yeah, all right. Anthrax. This guy, man, I wonder how his wife handles him. You know, he said so much anti-immigrant stuff, and his wife is an immigrant from India. I mean, at the end of the day, she's like, man, I should have turned lesbian. Really? Did I have to marry this a-hole? Hey, sometimes, honey, you get what you pay for. All right. So the Pontiff has a social media account that has been very critical of the Trump administration and especially J.D. Vance. He retweeted an op-ed a couple months ago that was talking about Trump's treatment of migrants, and especially the line that stood out was, do you not see the suffering? Is your conscience not disturbed? Well, I got to tell you something, Pontiff. If you think there's a conscience, if you think there's a soul in this administration, you are delusional. Like the kids say, delulu. Okay? Hey, I'm hip to what's going on the streets. I know what the kids are saying. Delulu. It's delusional. I don't know why they always just got to take a word and then abbreviate it and say it a couple times. I don't know what that is. But I'm not smart that way. All right. And then he also retweeted an article from the National Catholic Reporter which said, J.D. Vance is wrong. Jesus doesn't ask us to rank our love for others. Amen. You know, I had this boss, good Christian guy, really good Christian guy. We had our disagreements. His name was Mark. And I was talking to him once, and he was very generous with helping people in his church. But I said, you know, I think it was during Obama's administration. I said, you know, we need to give health care for all. And he goes, no, we don't. They can get it on their own. And I go, what would Jesus do? And he goes, well, Jesus would do it with limits. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? I don't remember Jesus ever saying, oh, hey, you know, we're not going to bring everybody in here because there's just not enough room. You're like, come on in. Let's go. Caring is caring. Caring is caring. And at the end of the day, you either have empathy or love or you don't have it. Okay? Sorry. Don't give me this, I do 80%. All right, hey man, you do you. But don't sit here and say, hey, I'm Mother Teresa. Don't try and get it both ways. Either you believe in it or you don't. You believe in the concept. And I understand there's budgets. I'm not arguing that. Not arguing that at all. But in a situation, in a country where we could spend over a goddamn $1 trillion a year on the war machine, don't tell me there's not money for health care. There's not money for food aid, for school lunch, for pre-K. F you, and then when I get done with that, F you again. There is the money. The allocation, the priority is what the problem is. Nobody cares. You know, I am going to take a line from the great David Frum. He is a magnificent podcaster. And he said something that really resonated with me. He said, the Democrats have to learn how to say no, and the Republicans have to learn how to say yes. Amen. That says it all. I really should have started out the podcast with that because it's so bloody true. You know, me, I am all for transgender rights. Personally, I'm not going to get into the athletics thing. They can figure it out. I don't care. And when I run for president in 3.5 years, and yes, my vice president, you better get those boots on because we're going, girl. At the end of the day, I don't have to answer every question. I don't. And look, I am for the rights. And in 10 years, transgender rights are going to be as accepted as gay rights are today. And they should be. But I'm not going to get into the battle. I'm not going to get into that situation. And I love her, Kamala Harris, where she got caught into the getting transgender surgery for prisoners. I mean, literally, what a loaded question that was. She should have just looked at him and laughed and said, I'm not going to answer it. That's stupid. That's it. Enough said. I mean, really, that was one of the things that resonated in this campaign. Hey, for all you people who voted for Trump because of the transgender rights, how's your 401k doing? How you doing there, people? How's the economy looking? Do you really think that maybe when Kamala a year ago was saying that Trump was going to throw us into recession, do you think maybe she's starting to look a little smarter? Damn right she is. She's looking like bloody hell Einstein. That girl knows what she's talking about. All right. That's it. You know, we have an administration that claims they're Christian, that claims they're J.D. Vance, I guess for today, wants to be Catholic. You know, he's a born-again Catholic or whatever he is. Since 2019. Yeah, welcome to the club. I left that club because it's corrupt. But, you know, as long as you have Abrego Garcia sitting in a San Salvador prison with no charges, with no due process, and you have admitted in every court filing it was an administrative error, and you don't bring that man back, and you are going to let him serve the rest of his life in that prison, you have no soul. You have no moral authority to judge anybody. And all I can say is, I hope there's a place in hell for all you son of a bitches. All right, that's it. I just want to tell you, I love you all. We're in this together, and we're going to win. Because we're on the side of right, we're on the side of good, and we're on the side of democracy. If you could, leave a comment. I appreciate it, and we'll see you soon on Scorched Earth.